guys, welcome back. This is another riff from 1985. The album is Sacred Heart. The song is called Sacred Heart, and the band is, of course, Dio, featuring Ronnie James Dio, of course, and Vivian Campbell on the guitars. This one, like I said, 1985, we're doing this series here where we're looking at cool riffs from hard rock and metal riffs from some of the better albums from 1985. And we've covered several so far, and I could not do Dio, even though this probably isn't. It's probably not in my top 10 favorite albums from 1985, and it's definitely not favorite Dio album, although there's some really cool tracks on it, including Sacred Heart, and it's got Rock and Roll Children on it, which I've always liked and has always been a concert favorite when Dio was touring, but there's, it's the songwriting wasn't quite as strong. It felt like some of the stuff was maybe they weren't getting along at this point. It's hard to say. I don't know the timeline, but in any case, it's an enjoyable album. There's some good stuff on it. It's not my favorite Dio, and I don't think it's probably anybody's favorite Dio album, but that doesn't mean we can't investigate some of the better stuff. So I debated which one to do. King of Rock and Roll is cool, Rock and Roll Children's cool, but just in terms of a cool, accessible riff, I thought this one really did the trick here, and it's probably my favorite song on the album. So this one and Rock and Roll Children. But so let's we'll get to this in just a second. Before we do, make sure and check down in the description box, and you'll find a link to my Patreon page, which is where you will get the tab and Guitar Pro for this lesson and many other lessons. There's also backing tracks and other cool exclusive stuff that's been added and will be added in the coming months, and it's growing all the time. And thank you to my current Patreon folks, and hope to see you over there for the tab. So it's patreon.com/Nick Layton Guitar. Also, I've got a free gift for you guys. It's called 5 Blistering Licks to Light Up Your Fretboard, and it's just a collection of cool licks from some of my guitar courses in the style of guys like Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, George Lynch, etc., that are just fun licks to work on your chops, not just exercises but cool licks. So there's some video demonstrations, and you get the tab and the Guitar Pro. It's all free. Just check that down in the description box. All right, so we're doing this series here, and this one is the mighty Dio. The tuning on this is a half step down. There's a lot of these songs we've done so far that have that half step down tuning. Now, Dio previously on the first two Dio solo albums was standard tuning. So you had Holy Diver and The Last in Line, both standard tuning. But this one, for whatever reason, they decided to tune down a half step for most, if not all, of the songs. So here we are in E flat standard tuning, and here's my low E string. Here's an E power chord. Just in case you need it. Alright, so let's check this out. It's in the key of A, and there's nothing too strenuous here. It's just a fun, cool riff. I'll show you kind of the chorus intro riff, and then what's going on in the verse pre-chorus section as well. All right, so it starts out with we're using these power chords but they're on the D and G strings. These are some of the basic power chords you get into when you start looking at hard rock and metal, especially from the 80s, is these type of chords all over the place in so many songs. I could go on and on, but this one starts on an A, so it's 7th fret D, 9th fret G. First you're going to play the open A string. Then you move it back a whole step, so now from an A to a G, 5th fret D, 7th fret G. Do that again. And then come and rest on the A. So like this. The tab says slide. I'm actually more picking each chord. There's a big slide. So when you're doing this, you're going to have the open A string in between the chord hits. So, but you're muting it, so it doesn't sound quite like that, right? So here's the first one. Second one. Now here we're resting on an F5 power chord. This is 3rd fret D, 5th fret G. So those two together. Big slide. Okay, another big slide. Okay, now that one, you saw what I did, hopefully, is that when I went up to the A, I bent it. I bent the whole chord. Now, this is a lot easier to do with a non-locking tremolo system. So Vivian Campbell's notorious for playing Les Pauls, and there's no locking tremolo there. Although seems to me he did play some locking trem guitars there for a while. Maybe he was on one here, but in any case, it's easier to bend this chord without the locking tremolo. Okay, but you can still do it. I have a locking Floyd here. And the way I do, I always play these kind of chords with my index and my pinky. It's more comfortable for me. You could play it like this, but I think it's easier with this sort of this slanted hand position. And you just give it a little tug. It's definitely not even a half step. It's just close to a half step. But so what you get is, okay, so here's the first three again, including the power slides. Last one. All right, so the last one goes. So see what's going on? It's the same chords, right? The same three chords from A to D. From A to G. Then you start over on the. Do that twice. And then you play it starting from the G this time. Play that twice down to F, and then start on F and play this down to E. We haven't done this one yet. 2nd fret D, 4th fret G. Do that twice. Okay, so all that together. F5 power chord here on the low string, up to a G, back to an F. Let that die out. Actually, it just kind of cuts out like this. And then a big slide, and you come in with the A chord on the verse. But well, the F5 power chord down here is first fret, low E, third fret on the A string, and then you can also play the third fret on the D string if you want. Move that up a whole step, 3 and 5 on the low E and the A, back to the F. And then you cut that off, kind of like that. Cut it off just with your palm there. Slide. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Let's do that whole section now. Big slide. Alright, now this is, when we get to the verse riff, you're just hammering away on an A power chord, but there's a trick to it. It's syncopated, which means the chord hit is on the upbeat. So you can either hit that with an upstroke, which I kind of like that because it feels like it makes sense to play an upstroke on an upbeat, right? So if you are to time that out, you go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3. So you're playing on the end of the beat. But you could play it also with a downstroke if you wanted to. Just know that it's just on the end. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, that's what's going on the first part of the verse. And then when it goes to the F5 power chord, you get this rhythm. Right, so it's muted twice, and then you play it again without the mute. Let it ring. Okay, so let's do that all together then. We're going to go to Alright, now that chord's played by the keyboard, but I'm going to show you how to do it on the guitar. It's really cool. So that's the whole build up there. Verse is the A chord to the F. You kind of get this little pre-chorus going up to a D chord. You can either play that at the 5th fret on the A string and 7th fret D. It's got that rhythm. Or you could play it here, you know, with the open D chord there. And then goes back to the A with a different rhythm. Back to the D. Up to E. That cuts out, and you hear this big guitar. So from the E, when you cut out of the E, basically what that is an F power chord. So I'm playing 10th fret on the D and the G, and then I'm also hitting the higher part of that, you can kind of hear that on the keyboards on the 13th fret on the B string and the high E string. So 10th fret D and G, 13th fret on the B and the high E, and it's just let that ring. Okay, so here's the whole verse. Actually, let me just play through the whole thing, and then we'll talk about what happens when it comes into the chorus. Actually, I'll play through that too, and then we'll talk about that. We're almost there, guys. Basically, you've learned everything so far. I just want to tie it together for you. So here we go from the top. Okay, I'll stop there because that's everything we've done so far. Now here's what the chorus does. Find the Sacred Heart. Vocal line comes in. You're going to play a C to a B5. C5 to B5. 3rd fret A, 5th fret D. 2nd fret A, 4th fret D. Now you're into the riff. Just like the very beginning. Right? Here's what's different. So it comes out of the chorus like this. So it's just, so instead of doing, it's just doing a simplified version of that, which ends up on the F chord. And then you get this lick. It's a little pinch harmonic going right down the A minor scale, but starting on an F. So you get 3rd fret on the D string, 2nd fret D, open D, 3rd fret A, 2nd fret A, open, 3rd fret low E. You could play all downs on that. Whoops. Or alternate. So a little harder to get the pinch on the upstrokes, but if you focus on the downstroke, you'll get at least all the downstrokes with the pinch harmonic. So either way is cool. But that's it, and then you're into the second verse. There's slight variations there, but that's most of the song, guys. And hope you enjoyed this. It's a fun riff to play, and it's not too difficult, which I think is cool, especially for a lot of you guys who are kind of just, you know, you're working on your chops and you're trying to get to where you can play some of this metal from the 80s, and a lot of it's very technically advanced. And some of it isn't, but it's nice to be able to play things that are somewhat easy and build up a repertoire of that kind of stuff. Even, you know, for me, as a more advanced player, I still like to play this easier stuff because it's fun. You don't have to think as much. And it also shows if you can play stuff that's easy but play it well and play it in time and play it cleanly, then there's a certain amount of skill that goes into that as well. So don't overlook things like this. Make sure you can play easier things that aren't maybe as busy. When you play like you have to be able to count that, when you come into the next part, because there's space there. And a lot of guys have trouble with space. They get off track. So this is a great one to play along to. If you guys check out the album, like I said, you can make sure you're in E-flat standard tuning. But in any case, if you need the tab for this, like I said, head on over to Patreon and you'll be set, a Guitar Pro and PDF tab. So there you go. More 1985 riffs to come. I've got a handful left, and I might just keep sprinkling them in here and there as I move on to other things. But this has been a lot of fun, and we'll keep going here for a little while. Leave a comment and let me know what your favorite riff or favorite album is from 1985, and you just might see it on a video coming soon. All right, I'll see you next time. Rock on.